Okay, so we already discussed earlier, and I mentioned to you that a man was killed in Portland, Oregon over the weekend, and this, as well as some of the other events of the weekend, despite not stopping Donald Trump from golfing, did set him off tweeting completely uncontrollably for hours in the middle of the night. And these really were the rantings of a madman. And it's not normal for anybody to behave this way on social media. It's not normal for anybody to be tweeting this much on social media. Most people don't have this much time to be spending so much time tweeting and retweeting things on social media. And I mean, listen, when I see someone tweeting at messages at me so frequently, I just mute them immediately. And we have the president doing this. And each of these tweets we're going to look at are so riddled with lies. We could analyze all of them in detail. I'm only going to do a couple. Many of these are sort of illuminating or informative in some way. I think there's something we can get from them. So one of the questions that has been coming up is, why isn't Joe Biden criticizing the violence and unrest in the streets? And of course he has, but Donald didn't really matter to Donald Trump. Donald Trump tweeting, quote, "When is slow Joe Biden going to criticize the anarchists, thugs, and agitators in Antifa? When is he going? Remember, Antifa hasn't killed anyone. When is he going to suggest bringing up the National Guard in badly run and crime-infested Democrat cities and states? Remember, he can't lose the crazy Bernie super liberal vote." Well, Biden did actually do that denouncing. And it's Trump who has refused to denounce some of the individuals and some of the violence that has actually taken place over the last 4 days. Joe Biden put out a statement about this. And in that statement, he said, quote, "I condemn this violence unequivocally. I condemn violence of every kind by anyone, whether on the left or the right. And I challenge Donald Trump to do the same." Well, Trump hasn't. It does not matter if you find the political views of your opponents abhorrent. Any loss of life is a tragedy. Today, there is another family grieving in America, and Jill and I offer our deepest condolences. But it doesn't matter to Trump. It's the narrative that Biden won't denounce it, and things will be even crazier if Biden is president. And it's working on a bunch of people. Trump also had a 2-tweet rant about Joe Biden. We'll go through some of the lies here. Joe Biden is coming out of the basement earlier than his hoped for 10 days because his people told him he has no choice. His poll numbers are plunging. Now, that's not true. There is a tightening in some areas, but Biden's numbers aren't plunging. Trump goes on, "Going to Pittsburgh, where I have helped industry to a record last year." That's a lie. And then back to his basement for an extended period. His problem is interesting. He must always be weak on crime because of the Bernie Sanders radical left voter. What's amazing on this is that one of the primary critiques from the Bernie left about Biden is his involvement in the 1990s crime bill, which, even though it was almost 30 years ago, still is mentioned as Biden being too much like a Republican on supposed law and order and crime. But in any case, you can't talk sense into these people. Trump going on, "If he loses them like crooked Hillary did, he is toast, and many will vote for me because of trade. Bernie was good on trade. Joe must always be weak on crime." So this is now, the basement stuff continues and the Joe Biden is weak stuff is continuing, but it's also completely disconnected from what Joe Biden is actually doing. Joe Biden actually has been more visible lately. Joe Biden is going to be speaking in a few places. Joe Biden's RNC speech, DNC speech rather, compared to Trump's RNC speech, was tethered to reality, unremarkable, but completely reasonable. Trump then going on to tweet, "The only way you will stop the violence in the high crime Democrat-run cities is through strength." Now remember, whatever violence is going on now when Trump is president. And Trump insisting that to stop the violence that's happening during his presidency, you need to reelect him, doesn't pass the sniff test. But as I talked about in the last segment, the chaos helps Trump big picture. That's scary. Trump also retweeting a bunch of different fight videos, believe it or not. This is the president of the United States. Trump also tweeting attacks on different people. For example, tweeting Ted Wheeler the wacky radical left do-nothing Democrat mayor of Portland, who has watched great death and destruction of his city during his tenure, thinks this lawless situation should go on forever. Wrong. Portland will never recover with a fool for a mayor. Remember, Trump is president now. If Trump can stop the violence, why isn't Trump stopping the violence or saying he won't do it until he's reelected? Very, very disturbing that is not raising a red flag with tens of millions of Trump voters. Trump also tweeting law and order in all capital letters multiple times over the weekend. Hundreds of tweets and retweets, outrageous behavior from a sitting president of the United States. One of our sponsors is privacy.com. They're giving you $5 when you sign up for their completely free service at privacy.com/Pakman. I've been using Privacy for a little over a year now. You've heard me talk about it before. It's a lifesaver, and here's how it works. Takes just a couple of minutes to set up. Anytime you buy something online or on the phone, instead of actually using your real credit card number, the Privacy app and the browser plugin let you give each company a randomized virtual credit card number that you create out of thin air. It'll even autofill the card number with one click. And the payment is taken out of your checking account without the merchant ever knowing your real information. So this allows you to keep your banking information secure, but also to take control of your finances. You can create up to 12 of these virtual credit cards a month. You can set spending limits. You can freeze them. You can delete them anytime you want. So when you do this, it means you're not going to be charged when you don't want to be, because you can destroy the virtual card number right after using it, which, for instance, I love using free trials because I know I won't be charged when the trial is over if I use a virtual credit card number. You're keeping your identity private by not telling companies who you are. You're keeping your bank or credit card info protected against data breaches and identity theft. And it's free. There's no catch whatsoever. But if you want, Privacy also offers a $10 a month plan that gives you 1% cash back and lets you create 36 credit cards a month, and a $25 a month plan tailored more for small businesses where you can create 60 card numbers a month and much more. But definitely go ahead and at least get started with the free plan. You'll protect your financial info. Companies can't charge you unexpectedly. And like I said, you'll get $5 to spend when you sign up at privacy.com/Pakman.